Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 8th installment of my Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links Best Decks series. Today, we're going to be looking at a Cerberus OTK basic guide. Just before the video starts, I want to say that this deck is 100% only for farming. You can use it in PvP, but it will probably not win games. It is made for playing against legendary duelists to get all the cards that they drop, as its entire aim is to get you a very high duel assessment at the end of each duel. Also, thanks for all the feedback on my last video when I asked whether or not I should have gameplay at the end. I shall have gameplay at the end of all my videos from now on. Thank you guys for your feedback. And without further ado, let's move on to the guide. Alright, first we look at which character is the best for this deck. And the truth is, anyone. Because the best skills for the deck are draw sense skills. They are able to drop from literally anyone in the game. Two skills you'll need is either draw sense light or draw sense low level. Draw sense light is better because it only requires you to take 1500 damage, but draw sense low level also works at taking 1800 damage. If you don't know what these abilities are, simply when your opponent attacks you, if you take either 1500 damage or 1800 damage in a turn, the next turn you can draw a monster of the required stats, which is light or low level, which is level 4 or lower, to draw your Cerberus. Alright, let's move on to the deck list. The cards in this deck are Mythical Beast Cerberus, one Riryoku, 2 Shards of Greed, 1 Twister, 2 Gravity Axe Grarls, 1 Shooting Star Bow Ceal ×1, 2 Dispels, 2 Stop Defense, 2 Raimei, 2 Blue Medicine, 3 Sparks, 1 Mooyan Curry. This deck is extremely interchangeable. You can take out a lot of cards in this deck and replace it with just about whatever, as long as it's a spell. Because pretty much every card in this deck is based around buffing Mythical Beast Cerberus so that it'll be able to do above 10,000 damage in one turn, which will give you a big duel assessment at the end of the duel. So as long as whatever cards you're replacing this deck is a spell, he will gain more attack. I'll talk about why I've chosen these specific cards generally as I get those for the cards at the end of the video. Alright, let's go a bit more in depth with the strategy of the deck. Alright, so basically, your entire aim is, on turn 1, if you don't have your Cerberus, you just pass the turn. Then your opponent will attack you, which will be a legendary duelist, and they'll do normally above 1500 to 1800 damage, so you'll be able to proc your draw sense, pull your Mythical Beast Cerberus into your hand on the next turn using the ability that you activate. Then you can just play him on the board and keep casting spells. Every spell you cast will buff Cerberus attack by 500. Do not swing with him until he's above 10,000, which you'll most likely do at the end of the duel for reasons I'll go through in a minute. The aim is to get your Cerberus above a certain attack threshold that the enemy AI will not be able to kill it with the damage they have, so every card they play from then on will be in defense mode. Then this is how the rest of the duel will go. Every turn, you'll just play any spells you've got in your hand and pass the turn. The 3 ways in this deck will get you a high duel assessment is 1, you'll do over 10k damage in one turn, which is why you buff the shit out of Cerberus. 2, your cards will be on the brink, which means you're literally about to run out of cards in your deck, so you've got like no cards left in your deck, and then you win. And 3 is a comeback victory, so you want to take a bunch of damage, which is where you leave your board empty on the first few turns, or turn 1 I mean. So then you can make a massive comeback, or what the AI thinks is a comeback, and that will also give you a very high duel assessment at the end. If you don't know what duel assessment is, it's that score that comes up at the end of each of your duels, and for every 1000 points you get on that score, you'll get a chest. So if this deck will normally give you around 6 to 7,000 points, which means you'll get 6 to 7 chests. Each of those chests have a chance of getting one of the cards, which is drops by the legendary duelists, which is why this deck is very good for farming. If you don't understand really what I'm talking about now, just wait to the end of the video. I'll have gameplay that shows this deck in action and shows you how you're going to be able to farm with it and get a lot and lots of chests. Alright, this is going to be a very big slide. Let's go through the monsters in this deck. The monsters in this deck are Mythical Beast Cerberus. I don't really need to talk anymore about this guy. I've spoken about him a lot. Every spell, he's the core of the deck. Every spell you play will buff him, And yeah, I'll move on to the next slide, which is the more important one. Alright, the spells in this deck are Blue Medicine, Mooyan Curry, Dispel, Twister, Shard of Greed, Gravity Axe, Grarl, Shooting Star Bow, Ceal, Sparks, Raimei, Riryoku, and Stop Defense. Alright, nearly every card on this slide is interchangeable. You can swap out everything pretty much. The only card you need in this deck 100% is you will need a Stop Defense. Stop Defense is the card I'm going to talk about first, even though it's the last one on the slide, simply because what the AI does is because it sees your monster has a higher attack than their monsters, they'll turn every one of their creatures to defense, which is bad because your aiming is to win the battle by doing damage to their life points, and the only way to do that is if their creature is in attack position when you hit it. So you stop defense, turn that creature to attack, so then you can attack with your Cerberus and do battle damage to their life points. The Blue Medicine and the Mooyan Curry are merely recommendations. I think when you play with this deck you should have cover all aspects. So the first two cards are life point cards. So if your opponent attacks you on the first turn and doesn't do quite enough damage to proc your active ability, you can then heal yourself up a bit and hopefully he can do more damage to you, and the next time it will be enough to proc your ability. Otherwise, only use these for Cerberus buffs, so you use it just to give you Cerberus another 500 attack. Again, these cards are interchangeable, you can swap with any other spell in the game if you like. The next three cards are Dispel, Twister, and Shard of Greed. Dispel and Twister can be used on your opponent's spells to make them hopefully play more spells, because every spell your opponent plays also buffs your Cerberus. So I suggest using your D-spells and your Twister on their field spells, because most of the time if they use field spells they'll have more copies of it and they'll play more field spells, which will buff your Cerberus some more. Shard of Greed is used purely to draw the deck faster, so you can get closer to that deck out and closer to bringing your Cerberus to above that 10k attack threshold. Remember, you have to do 10,000 damage, not 10,000 attack, so you have to do, like, if your opponent has 1,000 attack, you have to do 11k damage to it. Also, something I want to point out is, with the Shard of Greed and the D-spell and the Twister, when you've got Shard of Greed on the board, as when you've got no cards left in your deck, you will then have to use a D-spell or a Twister to kill it, so you can continue playing spells, or play your equip spells, which you've got 3 in the deck for, so you only have 3 spell slots, so they can't be left with a Shard of Greed there. So if you have got a few cards left in your deck, and you know one of them's a Shard of Greed, try to hold on to a D-spell or a Twister, so you can kill it, because you will need to if you want to be able to play your equip spells. Speaking of equip spells, there is a Gravity Axe and a Shooting Star Bow in this deck. The 2 Gravity Axes that are in this deck take up 2 of the spell slots at the very end of the game, and the Shooting Star Bow should take up the 3rd. So these should be the very 3 cards you play last, or you can play 2 of them and leave 1 slot open. I think you should leave 2 slots open, but you can play 2 of them if you need to. You use the 2 Gravity Axes on your Cerberus, and use the Shooting Star Bow on whatever you're planning to attack, as it will reduce its attack by a further 1000. Each of these Gravity Axes will increase your Cerberus' attack by 1000 as it counts as a spell, so it buffs it, and it gives it plus 500 attack on top. At the end of the video you'll see how I use these, so don't get too flustered if you don't really understand what I'm talking about. The next 2 spells are simply to do effect damage. I'm not sure if this impacts the end screen dual assessment, I don't think it does, but I just put them in there anyway. Pretty much just extra spells. You don't have to have them in there, I just put them in there. The final card I'm going to talk about is Riryoku. This card is pretty much just some people think it's core to the deck, like you actually have to have one of these. It's not true, you can just play enough spells that you'll get over that 10k threshold anyway, but Riryoku makes it very easy. It takes half the opponent's attack and adds it to yours, so you can just take a 2000 attack monster they have, and add 1000 attack to your creature whilst halving theirs. So therefore their monster now only have 1000 attack, and you can do a fuck ton of damage to it, which obviously helps you get over that 10k damage you need. Alright guys, that's pretty much it for the guide part of this video. I will have gameplay at the end of this video, which I suggest you watch if you don't really understand how this deck works yet. But other than that, thank you for the support on my recent videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one, which should be pretty soon. Spoiler alert, it will be a Harpy deck.
It's time to duel!
It's my turn. I end my turn.
It's my turn. I draw a card. All right. I summon a monster in it. Let's battle. Let's do this. My monster attacks your life points directly. My turn is done.
You ain't one. It's my turn. I draw a card. From my hand, I activate a spell. I end my turn.
It's my turn. I draw a card. I'm counting on you. I tribute summon a monster. From my hand, I activate an equip spell. Let's battle. Here we go. I attack your life points directly.
I might actually
end my
lose.
turn.
I'll teach you to mess with me. My turn. Ha I draw. I summon a monster in attack position. From my hand, I activate an equip spell. From my hand, I activate a spell.
This is far from over.
My turn's over, dweeb.
Okay, here I go. My turn. I draw. I set a monster. I end my turn.
I'll teach you to mess with me. I draw. From my hand, I activate a spell.
It's not over yet.
My
Now isn't
turn's
the time
over,
to let up. I draw. I set a monster. I end
I'll
my
teach
turn.
you to mess with me. I draw. From my hand, I activate a spell.
It's not over yet.
My turn's over, dweeb.
Okay, here I go. My turn. I draw. I end my turn.
It's my turn. I draw. From my hand, I activate a spell. My
Now
turn's
isn't
over,
the time to
dweeb.
let up. I draw. I set a card. I end my turn.
It's my turn. I draw. My turn's over, dweeb.
Okay, here I go. My turn. I draw. I end my turn.
I'll teach you to mess with me. My turn. I draw. From my hand, I activate a spell.
It's not over yet.
My
Okay,
turn's over.
here I go.
dweeb.
I draw. I end my turn.
It's my turn. I draw.
Now
My
isn't the
turn's
time to
over,
let up.
dweeb.
I draw. I end my
I'll
turn.
teach you to mess with me. I draw.
Okay,
My turn's over.
here I
dweeb.
draw. I set a card. I end my turn.
It's my turn. I draw. My
Okay,
turn's over.
here I
dweeb.
go. I draw. I end my turn.
It's my turn. I draw. From my hand, I activate a continuous spell.
Okay.
My turn's over.
Here I draw. I end my turn.
It's my turn. I draw. From my hand, I activate a continuous spell.
Now
My
is
turn's
it time to let up? I end my turn.
It's my turn. I draw. I activate a continuous spell. From my hand, I activate a spell. From my hand, From my hand, I activate a spell. From my hand, I activate a spell.
It's not over yet. Here I go.
My turn's over.
I draw a card. All right. I tribute summon. My turn is done.
It's my turn. I draw. From my hand, I activate a spell. I activate my spell. Stop defense. From my hand, I activate an equip spell. From my hand, I activate a spell. From my hand, I activate an equip spell. That. If you ask nicely, I'll finish you fast.